The harem genre is one of the most divisive in the community. You either love them or hate them. And regardless of your feelings and personal tastes, all anime fans know that there are good harems and bad harems. 100 Girlfriends is a great harem anime, as is A Couple of Cuckoos and Girlfriend Girlfriend. But harem is the focus of those shows, and they each deal with their relationships in unique and fun ways. Harems are something common in another genre of anime, fantasy and isekai. But there's one thing that even people who love harem anime will agree on. Clueless main characters make us want to bang our heads against a wall. Unless that's the point of the series. Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danon, and my two favorite genres are fantasy and romance. So on this channel, we talk a lot about both of those genres, which brings me to the subject of today's video. From old country bumpkin to master swordsman, my hotshot disciples are all grown up and now they won't leave me alone. If you couldn't tell, this is a light novel. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel and it's free. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, I know that everyone jokes about light novel titles being super long and silly, but there's a reason for that. Most light novels start as web novels on soyatsu.com, and when you're competing against almost a million other stories, you want to have a title that is basically an elevator pitch. So if you think that light novel titles are overly specific, that's the reason why. I first discovered this series while perusing manga. Manga adaptations of light novels often occur years before there's an anime announcement, if there ever is one. And no, I haven't heard anything about this series getting an anime, but we can hope. Also, fan-translated manga sometimes come out months or years before the light novel gets an official translation, which means that sometimes we have the opportunity to read a lot of the story before the official book comes out in English. Now, as someone who is the same age as the main character, I'm able to identify with him in a lot of ways, and I even excuse his clueless behavior. Allow me to set the scene. Beryl Gardinant is a humble sword instructor who lives in the boonies. His father owned a dojo but is now retired. Beryl has trained students for well over 20 years as the master of the dojo, but even prior to that he assisted his father as an instructor. Which means that some of the children he taught in the past who graduated from his dojo are now adults. One day, after training his current group of students, his father comes to him and orders him to get married. He wants some grandkids, after all. Shortly after making this declaration, who should arrive but one of Beryl's former students, Alucia Citrus, who is also serving as the commander of the noble Liberian Order of Knights. Despite being in her mid-20s, Alucia is the head knight of the most powerful and trusted order in the entire kingdom. She comes with a job offer, special instructor for the Liberian Order. Before Beryl can turn down his former student, protesting that he's just a humble sword instructor from the boonies, nothing more than a country bumpkin, his father steps in and accepts on his behalf. It is this very humility that causes Beryl to become an idiot protag-goon. In a lot of harem anime, as I mentioned earlier, you have clueless main characters. Boys who have no idea that the girls around him want to be more than friends. These girls want to enter into a romantic relationship with this boy, but he's clueless. The whole dynamic is designed to frustrate us as the omnipotent audience. But so long as the characters are realistic and well written, we can forgive this situation, despite it being an overused trope. Beryl is a very well written character, and the trope is well used in this novel. From an audience perspective, his former students are basically throwing themselves at him, and fighting with each other over his attention. Oh, I haven't mentioned the others yet, have I? In order of appearance, after Alucia, you've got Selne Lysandra, a fiery redhead who can dual-wield swords, and is the highest-ranked adventurer in the kingdom. Kulni Cruciel, a young and cheerful knight of the Liberian Order. And Ficelle Habeler, a quiet and reserved magical swordsman. Or, in standard trope terms, you've got a Kudere, a Genki gal, a Tsundere, and an Ojo-sama. Throughout the entire series, he never thinks of any of the students as anything more than his former students. Sure, they've grown up into beautiful young women, but that's all. Beryl is an old man, and they are his students. He never has any lewd or inappropriate intentions with any of his students. Which, of course, frustrates his students to no end. But that's the charm of this series, and why I love and identify with the main character so much. I've met hundreds of beautiful women in my life, maybe thousands. As someone in their 40s, I can appreciate a young woman who spends time on her appearance and tries her best to look good. I know the effort that she took to get her makeup just right, the time and energy she spent at the gym, and how she probably watches her diet to make sure she can still fit into the same size clothes year after year. That all takes a lot of effort and should be admired. Respectfully. From a distance. But that's as far as it goes. At least, now that I'm older and wiser. Back to our story. Beryl is basically forced into going to the capital to meet the Knight's Order. The trip is roughly half a day by carriage, and he travels with Alucia the entire time. He's happy that Alucia has grown into a beautiful young woman, and hopes that she'll make some lucky guy a wonderful wife someday. Beryl meets the knights he'll be training periodically, and, of course, the lieutenant commander doesn't think this old country bumpkin is worthy to train the knights. Nor is he worthy of Alucia's admiration. So the lieutenant commander challenges Beryl to a match, and proceeds to get humiliated. After an hour-long sparring session, the lieutenant never landed a single blow, and is drenched in sweat. Beryl is breathing a little hard, but he's still humble about his victory, and compliments the lieutenant commander on how skilled he is. The Liberian Order is in awe of this man, and Alucia just sits to the side with a well-deserved smug look on her face. Beryl then returns home via carriage. The ride is much quieter this time, but also more boring without the company of his former pupil. Only, upon returning home, he finds himself homeless. While he was gone, his father found a replacement for him, another one of his students who rose to the rank of Platinum Adventurer, but has since retired after starting a family. Adventuring is a bachelor's game. Once you have a wife and a kid, it's time to settle down. Beryl is distraught. The next day, he returns to the capital and begs Alucia to help him find lodgings. She gladly accepts, then reluctantly recruits Selene to assist. After all, the knights live in the barracks, but adventurers have to fend for themselves. Alucia isn't happy about having to rely on Selene, but this is for Beryl's sake, so she swallows her pride and asks her romantic rival for help. Later on, we find out that Beryl's dad had been trying for years to get his son out of the boonies so he could make a name for himself. His students had achieved legendary status, all thanks to his teaching. Beryl is a master of the sword that the world rarely sees, and everyone who knows him agrees that this man being confined to a remote village that no one knows about is a massive waste, both of his potential and for the sake of the kingdom itself. In fact, the entire reason Alucia became the commander of the Liberian Order was so that she could pull her overly humble master out of obscurity and push him into the spotlight where he belongs. And maybe, if she's lucky, she'll push him into a chapel. But Master Beryl would have to realize her feelings for him while also realizing that he's a pretty good catch and not just an old country bumpkin. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Squishy, Brett, Roxy, Josh, Sean, Pob Zombie, Mark, Borgie, Jake, Exiled Rogue, Noswin, Pedro, Aranor, Tom, Echo Fox, Midge, and Swifty. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.